Cook dinner with me while I rant about society. I am in the process of making chicken enchiladas. I want to talk about some recent content I've done on the 504 protests. If you didn't know already, the 504 protests were a series of protests led by one of the Black Panthers named Brad Lomax. The thing about the 504 protests was the Black Panthers provided all the resources that the protesters needed in order to do a 26-day sit-in. And this protest was for disability rights. It was for financial assistance for disabled people. Then, when it came to ensuring that the correct people were signing what needed to be signed into law for this to happen, the Black Panthers paid for Brad Lomax and friends to go to Washington in order to make sure that everything was said and done as it should be. The reason I'm bringing this up now is because of all of the calls for strikes on Labor Day this year. We are calling for striking and for sacrificing income for the majority of people who can't afford it without any type of resources to support us or back us up through this. There are a lot of TikTokers who have been talking about this, including, but not limited to, Certified Angry Black Woman, Crutches and Spice, White Women Whisperer, and Portia. And I really think that you should go to these creators and you should follow their pages and you should look at what they're saying about the strikes. Because I'm really piggybacking off of conversations that they've been leading on. And from there, I can only speak for myself. But I really don't think that if we are doing any type of these social work activities or calling for this type of onions here, we can't really expect much to happen when we're basically sacrificing our most vulnerable people in this process. And by that, I mean the majority of people that are calling for strikes and protests recently have been people that look, very similar to me. And there hasn't been any type of discussion on assistance in place or procedures to back up these resources. And it's like, as we've seen with the 504 protests, the only thing that made any of that sustainable, the only reason that they were able to do a 26-day sit-in with no end in sight was because the Black Panthers provided resources for the 504 protests. And I don't know about you guys, but I live in New Orleans. And in New Orleans, many of the organizations that actually do the rallies and actually get shit done are Black-led. Also, the biggest organizations that actually get shit done and do things are resources that go out of their way to provide tools and things for people, like not only during protests, but also all year long. And it's like, not that I don't think that the concept behind a strike is important to do something about. I would say the Ice Bucket Challenge was effective for helping with ALS, but it did nothing to change people's attitudes or ability to donate long-term to charities. And what I see fail the most are short-term social media trends. So I guess what I'm really getting to is questioning if what we're doing is really considered performative activism, or are we doing something that's actually beneficial to our community? And I think looking at, the history and differences and different community approaches to protests is something to really look at, especially when you consider like the difference between, the whole ALS social media trend versus, the Black Panther protests of the Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973. You know what I mean? And you know what's also kind of funny, but not really funny? It's actually really fucked up. The same people who are all about the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge, which really didn't do much, were the ones who were completely against taking a knee, for example, when it came to the George Floyd protests. You know what I mean? Okay, well, I just looked it up, and apparently the Ice Bucket Challenge raised hundreds of millions of dollars, so maybe that's a bad example of ineffective organizing. Well, not if you factor into the fact that statistically most participants likely didn't donate, but you know. So I guess my point is, when you look at this, idea of a September 1st strike compared to other strikes that we've been doing or social organizations, like, what is the fucking point? Excuse my mess, but all of this is to say, when are we going to get serious about actually overthrowing capitalism? And if you have made it this far, I was really being serious. Like, I am really looking for answers here. Like, what do you think is the best way to overthrow capitalism? That was like a real question. But yeah, what do you think is going to happen or needs to happen? I want to know what your ideas are.